Coming up this week on our Synth Chat show, I'll be talking to Ever Orchid, and we'll be talking about use of synths and how she got into synths and being an experimental musician and using different kind of synths. We're talking about what her dream synth was, what her current synths are, and what she'll be looking at in the future. So I think you'll enjoy this one. So Ever, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to get you on. I think I saw you on the Vintage Synth forums or the Facebook Vintage Synth forums. I think that's where I saw you.
Yeah, I joined a few synth groups on Facebook, and I think that's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of put a request out for people that are interested in talking about synths. To connect, and that's exactly what we did, which is great. So I wanted to talk to you about what synths you like or have used in the past, what you've got now, that kind of thing. But before we get into that, I just want to talk a bit about you and your music, because I've been on your pages, and you've got a really big catalogue of music on there. I've been on Spotify, and so I want to talk about that. So how did you get into music first?
Well, I've always played something. I think the first instrument I started playing was piano at 5, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Eventually I got into guitar when I was a teen. I got a synth when I was a teen. I got the standard Yamaha that you easily find in shops as a teenager.
Yeah, PSR type things.
Yeah. Yeah. But it wasn't very easy for me to make music at the time, and then eventually, suddenly have laptops with music software available for everybody, and that's when I started finally making music.
Right. Yeah.
And when MySpace was out, that was great.
I suppose it was that time. That was the time just where you, like you said, you could start creating stuff on your own. You didn't need a big studio, and you could start to even publicize it with through the internet.
Yeah, anyone that made a track at home could just upload on MySpace and suddenly had an audience and people were interacting with it, and it was fantastic. And you could make connections and friends with it, and I loved it. Yeah, it was really great. Sadly, I don't think there's an equivalent to that today, but it was really good at the time.
Yeah. The things have there was just got one space. Now things have diverged, and there's all sort of different spaces you've got to play. So what kind of music were you into at the time then that got you into music?
I've always been into experimental music since I was a teen, and that was kind of always the direction I wanted to go. So and that's an inevitable, you're gonna come across synthesizers somewhere in experimental music. Yeah,
so what would you sort of been your reference, or any particular tracks or artists you were listening to?
Oh, I should have been ready for that question.
throw the random one thing.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything. I mean, I think it was just a generic possibility that is an instrument that you don't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
From. So as experimental music for me is very much about what happens in the moment of creating or in the moment of performing it. And the synthesizer, it's so once you, like I come from a piano childhood background, so I'm used to have keys in front of me.
Yeah.
So when you have the guitar, it's not so straightforward to find the same notes. But once you have the keyboard in front of you, it's more clear what you're doing. All the keys, all the notes are right there in front of you. You don't have to try to find them as how can I say? It's not as tricky as fretboard.
Yeah. Once you've got where, your hands just go instinctively to the right place.
Exactly. So once you have a keyboard and a board effects of sounds together with it, and then you start getting into analog and oscillators and all that, filters. And that's when I think you kind of free your mind, really, and free the music.
Yeah.
Just let it happen. Yeah.
So when you started creating music and with the laptop, were you had your portable Yamaha type things. Where did you go first in the world of synthesizers?
I did a lot of research before buying my first synthesizer, my first official synthesizer. I had a Theremin, Moog Theremin, 10, 15 years ago. And that was one of the experimental music instruments that I was exploring at the time. I had a cello at some point as well, and several guitars and other things, but eventually I decided, no, I'm going to go for a synthesizer. And that's when I started reading on vintage synths, basically 6 years ago. So in 2019, I fell in love with the Alice's A6 Andromeda.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah.
That was one of the first things I wanted. And so I fell in love with that one and the Polyvox.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good choices.
But they're both hard to get. And when you get them, it's expensive. They need service. And I'm not that good with electronics. I don't have that much cash to splash. And the other one, I'm not really that good into electronics. I mean, I would really have to keep hiring someone or, some external service to look after it every now and then. That would be, once I had a problem with it. So I did a lot of research on those two, and those were the instruments I kind of looked up for, but I really didn't dare even try to buy it once there was one in the market. I think the Andromedas, they can be around $5,000-ish if you're lucky. Yeah. And the Polyvox are even more rare. I don't find them very often. I mean, when you do, it's not so expensive, but they're in the same situation in the sense that they need service because they are old, from the 80s and all that.
What was it that you picked up on those two that you made you want to go for those? Because they're quite different.
Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, what made you pick up on the Polyvox and the Alesis? Because they're very different.
I think they're one more versatile, and they gave me the idea that would take my mind where I wanted to go. Like I read a lot on the Jupiters and Junos and all the things, and that's too much of sounds of the 80s.
Yep.
Which is not what I sound like. I love it. And I listen to music from the 80s and people that produce music with those synthesizers all the time. But that's not how I wouldn't identify myself with that kind of sound with my music. It would be something a bit more ethereal or, how can I say, noisy, gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the softer sound of the Jupiter and that sort of classic 80s sound. Yeah. Some people really crave those, and that's why they're sort of £10,000. But then, and what made you want to look for a vintage synth as opposed to buying a new one?
I was just, I think there's this value. There's this nostalgic value that a lot of people look into those synths. Once you see that synth with that much history in the music instruments, how can I say, following, and you see some you hear some sounds of what it does, and you're like, oh, I want to be part of that. But at the end, I didn't get any of this too.
Yeah.
Because of the price, and I knew that I would have to get service every now and then, which would just add into the price.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you go for?
I ended up picking in 2019. After a lot of research, I went to a lot of shops. Any shop that had a synth on display that I could play with. I went to those shops. I went to the Juno shop. I went to the GAC store in Brighton. I went to PMT shops as well, that they have lots of big display sections on synthesizers. You can try lots of them, lots of Arturia, Moogs and Rolands and everything. I picked a Korg Prologue 16.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And they were discontinued a couple of years later.
Yeah. I think that was due to, something to do with EU power supply rules or something like that. Yeah. I've got a mini logo over there.
I tried the Minilogue and the Prologue, and they have very similar functions to the Minilogue and the Monologue. They have very similar functions to the Prologue. The Prologue is basically the full-on.
Yeah. You've got more polyphony.
Yes, and I thought, well, there's the 8 voices and the 16th. I'm gonna go for the 16th, and since I'm buying a new one, I'm just gonna go for the full thing, for the package, and I love it. That's my main instrument, and it does grand soundscape. So I think that kind of filled in my frustration of not having an Andromeda. I think I've got the Korg Prologue 16, which is not exactly, of course, the same instrument, but I think what I was longing for to reach with the Andromeda, or what I was imagining in my head that I could do with that synth in case I had it, I think I have achieved with the Korg Prologue. And since I've got it in 2019, I've used it extensively in the last 4 albums I've released. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to some, I think it was on Bandcamp, and I could hear that sort of deep, on one of the tracks, a really deep sort of analog synth intro. So that was the Prologue, was it?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy with it. It's discontinued, and I sometimes look at them for sale just to see if what the value is, and apparently the value kept the same somehow.
Yeah, because the sound doesn't go out of date. It's not. It's not like, especially in the 80s and 90s, particularly in the late 80s, where synths went out of fashion, the sound went out of date quite quickly. 1 minute it was Junos, then it was DXs, then it was D50s and M1s, but now you get like the Prologue can do classic analog sounds, and it can do experimental analog sounds, and I guess it doesn't change on that, so it's actually a really good synth for that.
Yes, it's very modern. It has lots of gritty modern sounds, but it does have some vintage presets as well. And I think there was an attempt there on emulating the Blade Runner soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the voices on the Prologue is called Runner Blade.
Yeah.
And when you play it, it actually sounds like Vangelis in Blade Runner. It's like, oh, nice. But yeah, it's a mixture of lots of things, but I think it does serve a wide palette of sounds, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And it's lovely, yeah.
It's got, I don't know if it's got the same filter as the Minilogue, but the Minilogue's quite a soft filter on it, I think. You can push it, but it does give some nice soft sounds, and especially it's got an analog delay on it as well, which makes it gives it that sort of retro, bit noisy vibes to it, which I quite like. It's the 4-note polyphony is why I don't use it more often, so I think the Prologue gets around that.
Yeah, and I don't know, every now and then on Synth Chats, I see people talking about it, and there's a bit of a love and hate relationship with that synth. So some people love it, some people hate it, some people sold it, regret selling it, some people sold it and never looked back. And
I think I'm sure I read that it was to do with the power supply, why they couldn't. That's why they discontinued it, because they haven't brought out a replacement model really. There isn't anything like that. They've got like the multi-poly, which is what I've got here, but that's a digital. That's a digital synth. That actually would probably do a lot of the things you kind of do, because it's got so many modulation routines and different types of filters, so you can send virtually any parameter to any other. So you can modify any filters or LFOs based on envelopes or based on key track. You've got all this kind of modular routing with it as well, so it's quite good for that. But it's not analog; it's analog modeling. But it is quite. But they haven't brought out another sort of big polyphonic analog synth since that.
No, I remember it was a flagship product, wasn't it? And I don't think they have one at the moment.
So is that your only synth? Is that the one you use for everything?
No, I have a bit of gas, unfortunately. I got into teenage engineering for a bit, and I got out of it. So I thought it was interesting. I got the OP1 and some pocket operators and other things, and the medieval calculator as well. And they were interesting, but I wasn't making any music out of it. My music was just not connected to those instruments at all. So I sold them all. and I got into Soma. So I got the Pulsar 23. It's a modular, so it's 23 modules. It's an organismic drum machine that they call it. And I recently got the Lyra as well to go with it. It's good. It's gritty. It does gritty bits, you know. So I combine that with the Korg, and I have really good grand soundscapes with it. But I have got something recently that is my new favorite. Not my new favorite, but it's I'm really pleased I got it. It's another discontinued item, although it's new as well ish. It's similar to the Korg. So Elta Music, they started producing a Solar 50, a big drone machine.
Right.
5-6 years ago. They produced 250 units or something like that, less than 300. And they stopped producing them, and then later on they started producing the Solar 42, and now they're doing the Solar 42F. So there's less than 300 units of the big Solar 50, which is, so it's 10 oscillators per voice. Yeah, so it's 5 voices, 50 oscillators, 10 oscillators per voice. Yeah, my numbers, I'm not very good with numbers, I get them mixed up. So I have this.
That's quite a bit of a monster machine. So it's patchable.
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. This is grand of the grand. If you scroll down a bit, so you see this video with the horizon of the Earth. Listen to it later. It's a 2-3 minute sample of the sounds that it does. It's just...
Yeah, I'll check that out. It certainly looks interesting. So it's like a semi-modular.
Yes. Well, we do. So it's just my maths are not very good. So yeah, you have to edit my wrong numbers later. So basically, I know it's 50 voices. So sorry, 50 oscillators. See, I'm getting it wrong again, and that's why it's called Solar 50. So you have 50 oscillators, and so there's 5 voices. Sorry.
And then you can sort of patch. I can see the mixer.
You tune each one of them.
Oh right, yeah.
And there's a bonus on this instrument. It has 2 Polyvox filters.
So you go back to the Polyvox.
Yes, I did not know until I actually got the item. I listened to what it does. I bought it because it was on a bid, and it was on an auction. I won the bid, and once I got it, that's when I was reading more the technical bits of it. Then I realized it had Polyvox filters, and I was, look at that! Now I feel in my Polyvox longing. So I have something related to it. Yeah.
And so is that do you control that via a MIDI keyboard, or is it really about tuning it playing it from the performance controls from the front panel?
Oh, you don't have to connect to anything. It's a synth.
So it produces. Has it got a keyboard on it, or do you generate the music from the front panel effect?
Yeah, it does have sort of a keyboard. It's not the standard.
Oh, it's there.
Keyboard.
Yeah. I see it. Yeah.
So there's touch sensors.
Really nice. Yeah.
And you can play it on its own. You just, plug in an interface or an output, a sound output, and that's it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I was missing the bottom bit off the picture before. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, so it's quite a unique sort of interface on that.
Yeah. So now they don't do this the 50 oscillators monster anymore. It's they do well, but it's quite close because they do it at 42. Right. It's quite close to 50. So what they're doing now is a 42 one with some other functions that they added to it for more versatility on playing. But I have the old one that is discontinued, and there's just a few of them made, and I love that. I absolutely love it. And considering because I have all the synths already, for other functions, I just use what the other ones have to offer. But for grand drawn soundscapes, that's the deal. Yeah, so I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, that's nice. That.
Mm.
And do you so is your sort of your work? Do you do multi-track, or is it just kind of capture? Do you just capture that performance that you're doing there and then?
Yeah, both, I think. Because I do stuff on my own, so I play one instrument at a time. And so the last album, I just released an album in December. So what I would do is I'll get some rhythm or beats with the Soma Pulsar 23. And once I was happy that I found something that was expressing what I was trying to work with at the moment, then I layer some sounds from the Korg on it based on the rhythm I just built.
Yeah, because I listened to it. It's got the ones I listened to are very sort of organic feel to them, so they didn't sound like heavily processed or produced. It had that really immediate sort of sound quality to them.
Yeah, I mean lo-fi.
Yeah, but it's there, isn't it? Straight away, the sound is sort of It had that organic. I think is rather than lo-fi.
I'm quite straightforward. I find a sound I like, and I might add some layers to it, but I don't, how can I say, munch on it for too long, Once I layer some sounds to it that I thought, oh yeah, no, it works. I think I'm happy with this. I try to clean the track on volumes, get the right, mixing and put in the other effects that I think might be missing, but that's it. Then
you got vocals on there as well.
Yeah.
So do you do all that in your own little place, your own little studio you've got?
Yeah. Yes, I've always been producing my own music on my own, pretty much. Yeah, everything, all the instruments, the voice. I do all the mixing on the computer as well, when everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think I get the experimental sound from it. I really, it was different to what I perhaps normally listen to, but really enjoyed it. Especially the I could hear that sort of deep synth sound coming through, which I liked as well. So is it something do you take this on the road, or is it just more of a studio sort of project for you?
The smaller ones I take to the stage. I haven't done a lot of gigs recently. So I stayed without playing for a few years. I started playing live again last year, and actually end of 2023, I did a gig again. That's when I started going back live. I just brought a couple of small things just to the stage. Last year, I did 2 gigs, one in Brighton, one in London. I just brought the Pulsar with me. This year, I joined some open mic nights with open electronic music open mic nights. I brought the Pulsar again because it's like this big, So I don't think I'll be carrying the Korg around.
It's quite a big synth.
Yeah, it's the size, and at the moment I don't really see the need of it, and I'm quite happy to keep it in very mint condition at home. No, it's because I play all alone as well, so I'm quite happy to have some backing tracks of what I've done already and play something live of the small instruments that I can carry around. So recently on the last electronic music open mic night I joined, I took the Lyra and the Lyra and the Pulsar from the Soma maker, and with the voice loops. So I do everything live on those improvisation sessions, but it's that I'm not bringing big instruments. So next month I have a gig, and I'll probably have a similar setup. I'll just bring the smaller ones, so I can do I do the backing tracks with recordings of the big ones that I'm not carrying around with me. And I play live the smaller ones to add to it and create something live in the performance.
Yeah. So are there synths that are still on your sort of radar of things that you're looking to get next, or are you happy with what you've got?
There was there something I wanted to get recently? Mixer. I got the adapter for the Lyra. There was something else. I'm trying to. That's the thing, isn't it? You think. Now that's it. This is my setup now. I don't need any more. And I mean, I hope I don't need any more. Oh yeah, there is one thing. I knew there was something that's been lingering in my head. Hang on. It's a little Korg sequencer that I'm thinking of getting. What is the SK one? Something?
Oh, the SQ
one, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've seen some people on YouTube doing using it with the Prologue.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you can see. Yeah, and that would integrate with
the gear. It doesn't have a sequence of the Prologue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because I think you can do. Yeah, you can have different pattern lengths and things like that with it. So I think, I did see that. There's always something else, isn't there? I think the temptation is always to look to. Yeah, but if you spend time learning the thing that you've got, I think you do gain. But yeah, we all do that. Yeah.
So once I get interested in something, I try to watch a lot of videos on it. I download the manual as well, and I think 90% of the cases my interest will drop at some point. Then I see the manual, I was like, oh yeah, I can't see myself working with this instrument.
Yeah.
A manual is normally a reality check.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good
idea.
So
the videos is like, oh yeah, I want to play that, and then you look at the mind and say, oh, maybe not.
Yeah, I think people do. Like, I've done the how-to videos on stuff on the Korgs, and when you've been using it for a while, the how-to videos look quite easy, but then when you're coming from cold, they're a bit harder to get into. But then I think if you master one synth in particular, like the one you said, the 50 or whatever, you really spend time with it, then that's when you get the most out of it, rather than moving on to the next thing, which I think is always the danger, that there's something else shiny that you want and you don't finish learning the one you've got already.
Sure, absolutely.
But it is very tempting. So, well, that was great. I was just what I wanted to find out about you. That was really good. So where should people go if they wanted to listen to your music?
So my music is on Bandcamp. So it's Ever Orchid, as in the flower, ever, as in forever and never and ever. And Orchid is in the flower. So I'm on Bandcamp. I have music videos on YouTube. I am also on Spotify. And I think those are the most common music platforms that people can find. I'm other stuff as well, but I think those are the most relevant ones probably.
Well, I'll put the links on the show notes, which are on thedislifestyle.com.
Thank you.
But also all the links on the YouTube video as well, so people can check that out and see if they can spot that prologue. I think they will. Well, it was absolutely great catching up with you. Yes, really enjoyed chatting to you. Thanks very much for doing the interview.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. It was very nice.
We'll be back same time, same place next week. If you'd like to join the show to talk about your synths or your music, you can email me, Ian@thedislifestyle.com. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.